The views and opinions expressed in these historical letters that may contain vernacular used in the World War II era, the post-war era, and the Cold War era do not reflect the views and opinions of any of the individuals involved with this project, including, but not limited to, the podcast's creators. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Allison.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm peachy keen, jelly bean.
Wow, that's
I know, right?
I haven't had enough coffee to be able to process that one, but it rhymed very, very well.
Oh, that's
So
from Greece.
I've never heard that before.
Oh, have you never seen? Okay, you can cut some of this out, but have you never seen the Grease movie?
Oh, it's been ages. I don't remember that from it.
Yeah, she says peachy keen, jelly bean. I love that one. But I'm very good. Do you have coffee today?
Of course, I would never not
course.
have coffee. Yeah, coffee is absolutely essential with the processing of the thoughts. So, or at least for me.
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. Okay, so we have Allison running on, I don't know, what you say, like 30-40% right now. Okay, well, you need to get some more coffee in you because we have got a lot to get through today.
Oh my gosh, we have such great content today. Today we were just talking. Let's rewind to last week for a moment so people can catch up with where we were, especially if you didn't hear last week's episode 81. We had the I suppose you heard Brother Truman. The Korean War started in episode 81. We were covering content from mid-July of 1950. We're now going to shift that focus over to the end of July, going into August of 1950. Not going to talk too much about the Korean conflict today. We will in the next episode catch up with what's going on. But essentially, for those that are like, what's going on in Korea, and we said we're not going to let people forget that. You know, it's a forgotten war. That's really, really bad. Shouldn't be. Essentially, the North Korean troops have pushed the South Korean and Allied forces to a peninsula, and they're holding on the edge of South Korea, and they have yet to retake Seoul. So during the content of these letters, that's what's going on. That's what's dominating the newspapers, is the Allied forces, over 100,000 of them, trying to hold on to this line in a port city in South Korea and repel the advance of the North Koreans, which they're mildly successful at doing, but that's the situation. So it's like a stalemate going on in Korea at the time. But we're not going to be talking too much about the Korean War today, except in the elements where it might appear just in passing. We do have to catch up, however, with some other things that are going on. And we have primarily, we teased this at the end of last week's episode, Lewis is going to go see a very important film, and I would say the Disney canon. So for anybody that's a big Disney fan here, we're going to talk about Cinderella in a moment. That's the title of today's episode, Cinderella at the Hatboro Theater. And we get a little more of the domestic life and what Sweetie's up to back at home here in Hatboro, Pennsylvania. So I think that's about it. I don't want to spoil too much of what's going to go on in this episode, Jamie, but let's get through some of the basic housekeeping matters. If you could please like, share, and subscribe to the Love Sweetie podcast on YouTube. Click that little bell icon to get notifications for when new episodes are posted. If you could click all the relevant buttons you would click on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the other audio channels. We appreciate that. Leave a review if you can. We appreciate that as well. Welcome to all of our returning listeners, to all of our new listeners. And again, check out the website, www.lovesweetiepodcast.com, for all of the photo galleries and other information about the show. But Jamie, here we are at the end of July of 1950, and let's see what Sweetie's up to. County Line Road, July 28th, 1950. Dear Mama, Papa, Frank, Sister, Jeanne, and Florence. I received a card from Sister yesterday, and a letter from Daddy enclosing Frank's latest letter. I have not received the package of medicine you sent, but since you asked for immediate return of Frank's letter, I shall go ahead and send it back to you, and then notify you either by another letter or postal card when the medicine arrives, and in what condition it made the trip. I'm glad you're sending it, for while the pain is gone around the heart area, it reoccurs in his stomach. Perhaps I forgot to tell you, the doctor said he could hear a lot of gas rumbling around in his stomach the night it was the worst. He seems worn out all the time, has no desire to be up and doing something, as he usually does, and that is disturbing too. I brought back some Fiasol tablets, had some ascorbic acid, some B1 complex, and have been giving him some folic acid too, to see if he might not get a little energy or pickup from a combination of them all. He's even thinner than he was, and all these things together sort of worry me. I shall be glad to have the medicine, and thank you for it. Yes, I'm proud of Frank, too. Not many men his age are as well set as he is, which all makes me feel worse to think that the army is likely to nab him and ruin it temporarily at least. Of course, remembering his letters, I knew that he did get a lot out of his army experiences, and no doubt would again. But it seems a pretty hard thing to face, leaving Maida and the kids and house and his job again. I'm returning his letter of his trip, and must say I could almost picture his first fluster. But by the time I'd read on away, I was cheering too. What a nice reward the raise was, and how nice to have $35 extra, over and above. I'd surely feel rich if I were he. And how I wished that you could have seen it all. I'm sure you'd have been very proud and triumphant with his success. I think that is one of the big sorrows of it all, that you don't have the chance to get in on just such things as this. I wished as I read that you might have made the trip with him. You'd never have forgotten it, and would have enjoyed it always. Knowing Frank as you do, you'd probably have known almost what he was thinking, and no doubt you'd have done a little sweating with him in between those questions. Good for you, Frank. And Papa, too. Back to Lou and his pains. He didn't have any cold that I know of, which made it all the more strange. I do not hardly think it was the dengue or breakbone fever, though I'm certainly no one to decide. I'm going to watch him pretty carefully anyway, and shall see that he takes the medicine as soon as it arrives. Louis will be very glad to have the pink dog. Incidentally, Louis got pretty much provoked with me for something the other day, stuck out his lower lip and said, "All right, I'll make that 2-day train trip back to Grandma Demaree. She doesn't treat little boys like this." This is just, there's a lot of little pieces of information that are coming in here. One thing, Jamie, is we get an update on Lou, who had not, pretty severe symptoms most recently at the base.
Yeah, that was concerning, because he was having a lot of issues with his heart. Mm-hmm. And he had gone down, and he was actually at the base at the time working. Yep. And so he had finally bit the bullet and went down, even though he didn't want to. And they did nothing for him. No. Nothing. Yeah. And so she's actually now consulting with her father about what could possibly be going on. And he's sending medicine probably to help, given what he thinks it might be. Yeah, we're not sure what is wrong with Lou. Mm-hmm. And whatever the response is at the base that they have even at this point, it's not satisfactory enough. So this is where Dr. Demaree is stepping in, and he's sending things. And then they're talking about options. Breakbone fever, I don't even know what that is, but that sounds awful. Dengue fever, all these other things. The question's still out there as to what exactly is going on with Lou. And this is going to continue into this letter as we talk about more of the medicine that's sent. But the other big part here is the part about Frank. And we have to remember that Sweetie's brother Frank had been in the army, and he was successful in the army during World War II. But he's also clearly being promoted at work. He's getting a raise, and this is for his work that he's doing with the Bell Telephone Company. Now, he's part of Western Bell because he's based in Chicago, but he's doing really, really well. And Sweetie's concern is that if Frank is called up to serve from his previous experience to go get involved with Korea, it's going to put a pause on all of his advancement and his family life at home. So that question is just going to linger out there. But overall, that's always been a thing, which is when you've had people that serve and serve well in one war, and then not too long later, there's another war, they're the first people that are going to be called up to ask if they can serve again and go overseas, because the army, the military needs reliable soldiers. This is why it's a worry with Lou at the base, currently enlisted in the Navy. If Sweetie's other brother, Bob, was still alive, I have no doubt that he'd be serving in Korea at this time frame with his rank as a naval pilot that he had.
So a lot of just questions still. It's not clear who's going over, who's going to be where, and even people in private enterprise right now that previously were in the army in World War II are being in consideration for going to Korea, and this just interrupting life. So it's just an interesting part there to review. We did buy a mower, but it is gasoline and not the electric one like yours. We went to Sears Roebuck to see about getting one like yours. They had none in stock, as the Des Moines store does. And when we went to the catalog counter, the clerk said they were out of stock in most of them, and couldn't be sure we'd get it. We found a picture in the catalog of the one that looked almost like yours, and we thought we'd order it and have it sent, but we were talking to another man who said he could get us a good one with a discount, and after humming and hawing around about it, looked it up in Consumers Union and shopped around. We bought one. It is a Moto Boy 20-inch Briggs & Stratton motor that we got for $100, priced at $128. It is really wonderful. Handles nicely aside from the ground being a little rough. The grass had gotten so long that we couldn't push our hand mowers through it. Usually Lou takes one and I take the other, and we just follow each other back and forth. But neither mower could make it through, and we would have had to hire it out again with the mower. So we bought. Again, with a power mower, so we just bought it and came home and started mowing. It just goes through anything. I can start and use it myself, and Lou is really pleased with it. If the Sears had been available for sure, we'd have bought the one like yours and tried to reach our backyard. But since it wasn't, I'm pleased with this one. It did cost like the dickens, but hope it will prove to be worth it. Sister, I shall get some scenic cards for your little French friend and send them to you rather than to her, and you may write what you care to about them. I'm going to drop a note to Marguerite, too, to ask her if she'll pick up some from New York, and you may care to include them to her, too. Frank, could you get some of Chicago? And I'll bet if you'd tell Aunt Mary they were for a little French girl, she'd get you some of Indianapolis next time she's there. Now, on second thought, I might as well send them from here, so I'll do that as soon as I have an opportunity to get them, and shall save her address for other occasions, too. I do wish we might see the pictures of the clan gathering on June 20th. Lewis has always been so disappointed that he wasn't in those movies that he would be pleased, and I'd love to see them, for I was surely left out of the festivities that day. I haven't ordered any iris, and I'm wondering what to do about it. I hate to buy nice plants, get them set out, and then possibly leave them here unattended, if Lou were shipped out. This will do for now. Acknowledge Daddy's letter, return Frank's, and I shall write to you as soon as the medicine comes, which may be at mail time this morning. But that is all right, for this is Friday, and I want you to have this letter on Monday morning anyway. Oh, yes, I nearly forgot. I took my foot in my hand and took Louis to see Cinderella at the Hatboro Theater. We had taken him to see it at the base some time ago, but when it came here, I thought I'd take him again. He was thrilled with the prospects and enjoyed it more this time than he had before. The theater was filled with kids, and I could see him looking them over pretty carefully. He got so excited at times, and I noticed that people were laughing at him rather than the movie. He has such an infectious laugh, and so thoroughly enjoyed himself, that I was well repaid for taking the time and money to go. Jeanne, if I don't hear from you, I'm going to call you up and bawl over the telephone. Whose orphan am I anyway? Love, Sweetie.
So it would seem that Jeanne is just really not writing very often.
Yeah. That's
she mentions this like in previous letters. She's like, Jeanne, hello, hello,
Yep.
Jeanne, hello. So I wonder what's going on there. Oh, we know.
Jeanne's a little bit right now.
There was a lot going on with this. And I'll tell you, so they got a new mower.
Right.
I like the ho-hummy every day. Oh, we bought a mower and we mowed the lawn. But the mental imagery of Lou push mowing and Sweetie like just running behind.
That's exactly it. I was wondering if you were going to say that. Yeah. Two push mowers, and they're just following each other. Like, if you're just watching this from the street.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, Mrs. Rieselman is just like, got the curtains, and she's just like, what are they doing? They're having a race. They're taking their lawnmowers for a walk.
Yes.
No, but yeah, it's really funny. Like I just like her in a little house dress, and him probably with his shirt off and it tucked in his back pocket, like going on back and forth and back and forth. That just the mental imagery just made me laugh. Oh, so there's some maybe it's a little French pen pal.
Yeah, sister has this French pen pals, so they're
I
collecting all
guess
these
so.
little postcards that she's sending overseas. So the idea is, Sweetie's like, oh, we can get one from New York. I've got Philadelphia covered. So they're just checking off all the major cities so
Yeah.
that sister can send this cool artwork about what the modern American cities look like in color over to this pen pal in France. And it's not going to be the only time we hear about that this is going on, that there's this random French girl that we don't know who she is, but she's getting postcards from Sweetie's efforts here for sure.
Well, and I don't think Sweetie knows, but she just immediately assumes she's little.
Yeah.
It's like your little French girl, your little French friend. Like, okay.
Her pen
So
pal.
now
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's a little French person. Oh, and then we got, Lewis got to see. That's always fun when he can go to the theater. He really did love that.
He loved this movie. I mean, who doesn't like the original Cinderella? I don't think I've ever met someone that saw that movie and didn't enjoy it. I mean, it's in its 75th anniversary right now as a big anniversary. It was beautiful, and I was looking up some things. Some of the music from Cinderella is so wonderful. In the modern Disney canon in like the 90s, and here's for like the dose for the Disney fans, we have a lot of really famous actors and actresses that do the voicing and sometimes that do the singing, especially now. That became a thing in like the 90s. They weren't as recognizable all the time. The woman who voiced Cinderella was Eileen Woods, and she actually was touring with the Army Air Forces Orchestra on a radio program during World War II. So she's like one of like those radio singers that went around and sang with the troops. Outside of Cinderella, that was her big thing. Outside of that, she seemed to go into like home life and things afterwards, the voice of Cinderella. But it's neat to remember this because I was reading through what happened to her at the end. She was made a Disney legend. She says, this is Eileen. I love the idea that after I'm gone, children will still be hearing my voice as Cinderella. Now she died in 2010. She dies with Alzheimer's and the complications from Alzheimer's. But I didn't know this. There's a little note on Wikipedia here that says that, in Alzheimer's, when your memories are gone, they can't connect. She couldn't remember she was the voice of Cinderella, but it's the staff would sing "A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes," and it would calm her near the end. So like full circle. It's like this tragic moment, but what a beautiful thing. And I just wanted to shout out, a name that people might not realize for a memory that everybody has of watching this film.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I grew up watching that Cinderella. You had the Disney used to put out those giant cassette tape, like, cases, and they had the artwork and stuff on them, and they have a whole collection. Yeah. And that was one of the ones that lived at our house, and we
Yeah.
would pop that in for like fun, and that was always
Oh
a
yeah.
nice movie. So it's really fun to like learn about it when it was out and to hear about like
Yeah.
Lewis being able to go see it. And so our second letter, is August 1st, so not too many days later.
Not too many days later, but I will tell our audience this is a good time to refill your coffee because this is a big one. And we're not going to break from Sweetie's story here for quite a bit of time. So here we go with August 1st. County Line Road, Hatboro, Pennsylvania, August 1st, 1950. Dear Mama, Papa, Frank, Jeanne, Sister, and Florence. Lou has started night check tonight and will continue on a 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. schedule for about a month. It presents something of a change in routine, meals, sleeping, and I don't appreciate that too much, though no doubt I'll live through it. First, I wrote you a letter and then received the package of medicine in that morning's mail, just as I thought I would. Sat down immediately and wrote you a card that it had arrived safely and in good condition, and then thinking I'd mailed it, found it safely put aside with your letter to answer. I'm sending it anyway at the same time this letter goes out. Lou's pain has disappeared, and he has been free of it for several days. We've had no occasion to use the little gray-green pills or the small white ones, but we are grateful to have them on hand for the future, just in case. He, like I, has been tired and listless. I do believe he is responding to the vitamins, though, and perhaps it has taken longer for the flu to leave, which has made him feel drawn out. He is feeling better, though, thank goodness. I hope that he continues to feel better, and I hope the night work does not cause too much loss of sleep and weight. I usually write upstairs in the early morning while it is still cool, but it is so hot I can't write up there tonight, and even down here, my clothes are wet and sticky. This morning we received the Merck manual and a letter from Papa. I was very pleased with the manual and expect to benefit greatly by it. Find it makes good reading even when there are no worrisome symptoms to look up. I do not know how to pay you for it, but shall appreciate your sending it every time I do use it. Also received your letter this morning, posted July 29th. I believe I received your letters. My biggest gripe was that I was somewhat lonesome after my trip there, and days without letters are lonesome days. I've no doubt I've received your letters, but just the same, I look for more. I surely do appreciate your writing about Joe's case, and after talking it over with Lou, believe you've probably hit the nail right on the head when you suggest hyperthyroidism. I believe they have found, at some previous time, a rapid pulse, and both Lou and I have noticed slight tremor of his hands. I doubt if there is much chance of Malta fever, and feel that you've the right idea. I shall tell them all you've written, and then leave any further treatment to them. In all probability, he'd need a metabolism test to determine the extent of it anyway, wouldn't he? I could have wept when I read of your illness. I keep wishing you'd let up a little in your work, and hope you'll keep writing when you aren't feeling so well. I believe this is about the first time you've ever written that you'd had anything like another attack, and I do worry about both of you so often, and just hope that you'd write and tell us how things were with both of you. I hope you've both recovered from the flu. Perhaps I infected you when I was there. Do please be careful, both of you. Don't work too hard, and let me know how you are, won't you? I shall keep the small tablets at close hand, and shall remember your directions for them. Have used them for diarrhea and flu with good results. I'm relieved that Lou is better, although he seems to be continually constipated. We have your yellow tablets, though, and they do good work.
She has a lot of different colored pills. Yes, she does.
Yes, she does.
So,
Yeah.
I think that this is a good time to mention that this is medical advice from the 1950s. Please consult your doctor if you have any problems.
In absolutely no way should you take the information from these letters as medical advice. You should talk to your doctor and consult medical professionals before deciding to take any randomly colored pills that were even in this letter. We're not even sure what it is. Amazingly, sulfa is not even mentioned at this point, which is the usual go-to for Sweetie. I wonder which of the bottles in the shipment from Dr. Demaree contains sulfa, because you know it was there. You know it was there.
You know that there was some sulfa somewhere, but no, there's multitudes of different color pills, but everything seems to be working. So props to Dr. Demaree for like diagnosing Lou and fixing him from hundreds of miles away.
And then we hear about Joe.
And Joe, yes.
We hear about Joe. Joe's suffering from some stuff. So now she's happy because she has a Merck manual. And what I have here next to me is people might want to find on eBay is your handy dandy Merck manual. This one's from the 1940s. This is the 7th edition. This is not the one this I actually did get on eBay, but because I wanted to have an example of an older one that Dr. Demaree most likely had on his shelf. And by 50, here's new edition. So he probably has a new edition, and I'm thinking that he sent a previous edition, potentially something like the 7th over to Sweetie. So she's reading this at night, as she says, even when she's not sick for things. And would you know, Malta fever, which I had not heard of, is also known as brucellosis. And the way it works is it gives you these wonderful little entries about the descriptions of the symptoms here and how it gets transmitted, and then treatment. And it gives a whole regimen, which, you know, maybe some of the colors of the pills described in the Merck manual are these unknown things that Dr. Demaree is sending. Talk to your doctor. That's what my dad would always say. We know in America we have this problem where there's commercials that talk about especially treatments for depression and things like this, which is very much illegal in most of the rest of the world to have commercials like this. I think it's us in New Zealand, I think, are the only ones that do it. Everybody else in the world doesn't do this, but America does this, and I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. Those commercials that play. And my dad, whenever these would play, he would stand up and announce in a radio announcer-like voice. He still does this to this day. Talk to your doctor. So maybe I can get a recording of him doing it. And then every time it lists out all the horrible repercussions, potentially the possible repercussions of taking certain medications because they have to disclaim all of it, he says, "Oh, that sounds good. This stuff sounds good." So
I can just picture your dad. So he did this when you were younger, and he still does it to this day.
He still does it today. I'm gonna see if I can get a sound clip of him saying, "Talk to your doctor," which we could just play every time that Sweetie's talking about known and unknown pills.
That would save us a lot of time from now on. We'll just I'm sure that Lewis will do that for us. That would be really funny. Oh, so Lou's working night shift now, basically. So she's on this new schedule. And I love how she's like, I don't like it, but I'll live. I do appreciate that attitude. And yes, it's true. They've been sick, which we know, we've seen like with her. But two, we see that Dr. Demaree also was suffering an episode. And I'm assuming that usually when she's writing these letters, I'm assuming she's talking to her dad. Yeah. Because he's the one that writes like the bigger letters to her. And she's answering. That this is worrisome.
Remember, go back to episode 71, Determination and Cussedness, for people without the update here. At the same time, Dr. Demaree is still, and I can confirm this because I know stuff in the future, Dr. Demaree is still self-medicating with morphine at this time as well. That's still going on at this point. So I'll provide updates as we go along. We hear some about Dr. Demaree's health, if that's still going on. And as of 1950, absolutely that is still going on. So... And Sweetie knows about this and is keeping that secret from her husband, Lou. Listen to episode 71 for more details about that. But continuing on with this letter. I am surely glad to hear you're buying a new car. Being a doctor does have a great many advantages, though it calls for giving your all at all times. I hope you do not have to wait long for it. Getting one this coming month sounds almost too good. And I surely do hope they do not give you the old story about the war and upping the price on you too much. We keep watching the papers here and find that used cars are continuing on the uptrend in price. Our particular car is up $400 over the price we paid for ours. We continue to get excellent service from ours, and I'm constantly delighted with it. I shall cheer when we receive word that you have yours, too. I was interested to read of the battle royales that took place in the corner house. My only wonder is that it did not occur last year at about this same time. I learned with Dottie that it is much better to practice an arm's-length acquaintance than to get in as thick as those two were. I shall enjoy hearing any further reports you may hear, and could in my mind's eye see you, behind the hollyhocks, enjoying every bit of it, and wonder if there'd been room for me to enjoy it with you. Yak, yak, yak. As for my lack of energy and vigor, I believe I too have had a little flu of my own. I have had a slight cold, been a little sick at my stomach, and a slight sinus infection that makes me headachy and dizzy. I tried wearing the reducing suit a time or two, but it has been so hot that it sapped my strength too much, so I took it off. I'm eating okay, don't worry, and I'm gaining and getting fatter and fatter. I shall be careful, I promise, and I surely don't look like a TB suspect either. I know that if you got up in the attic to put away a bunch of lumber, you were really sweating too, and while I know how you object to any scoldings on my part, I do wish you'd do things in a little more moderation too. I know how hot it is in the attic, and lugging lumber isn't exactly relaxing either. So you do be careful too, and we won't have to worry so much about each other. And that applies to this new garage you're going to build too. I hope you'll not do too much of the work yourself, and thus overdo, taxing your strength too much. I shall make it a point to ask Bill to do me a special favor and go down to help you, and ride hard on you at the same time. It may be difficult for him with this job change, but hope he can see to it that you don't do too much climbing or sweating in the sun, or hauling and shoveling dirt. From 3:30 this afternoon until 6 this evening, we got the UN on TV, and I was just thrilled to partake silently in the discussions. Malik of Russia was the acting president for the day, and Austin of the U.S. really gave him a hard time, and it was truly stimulating to listen and watch. Even the nationalist Chinese representative got his oar in for a few slaps at him. I was pleased to see Austin slap him, not too subtly either for his lack of appearance for the last 5 weeks, so that he didn't know what the order of procedure had been. They took them off at 6, and I surely wished we could have seen the end of it. I doubt if you could get it there very well from New York, but possibly Frank did, and I shall be anxious to hear what he thought of it. Of course, they pulled their tired old argument that it was the U.S. who is making the war in Korea, and made the usual accusations that we are the warmongers and propagandists. I couldn't help but feel, though, that he did lose some face with the UN in his conducting the chair, even laughed at him on occasion when the Chinese nationalist called him ignorant. I surely wished you could see it, and if you could make the trip here, we might be able to visit an actual session.
It's really fascinating to see a member of the country, like one of our own citizens, just giving her opinion about the UN,
Yep.
an organization that was formed recently at that time,
Right.
and her having the TV, she's able to see these things,
Yep.
and to comment and to educate herself directly from the source. Like, this is really wonderful. This is a wonderful portion.
Yeah, I love this because what a transformation in society. How rare has it been up to this point to be able, as you said, directly from the source to see things live as they're happening? I mean, up to this point, it's been the newspapers. It's been footage from like the front that then comes through and is published and presented in a certain way. She's essentially watching what we would consider to be C-SPAN today.
Yes.
Right? That kind of footage live. And I love that she immediately goes into commentary mode and she's like, oh, this one slapped this one good. The line about the oar, oh my gosh, I've never heard that line before. Got his oar in for a few slaps at him. So she's just like, and she said she watches this from 3:36. She's watching from 2.5 hours. I don't know about you, Jamie, but I think in another lifetime, we've got all these like podcast commentaries that go on with people doing live reactions to trials, to things like C-SPAN. I think Sweetie would have found herself in this field with her commentary.
Absolutely.
And everybody would be watching.
She would have been amazing. She would have been amazing. And I mean, I'm sure that she had it on too and was listening. Like if she was doing things, she had it turned up so she could hear. She has a very vested interest in this, having a brother who could possibly be called up and having a husband who could be, going overseas. So she's invested in this.
And then the thing is, she had to stop watching. She was like, they left off.
Well, she didn't have a choice. They took it off.
It is 1950. You can't just switch to the other channel because that would be it. So like, listen to the news, and you're like,
I'll just check the other channel.
There's no C-SPAN to go to finish what you're watching. Yeah, but she's wondering if Chester's getting it. I could see definitely him being like, yes, let's go to the United Nations. And I can't say I've seen this scene play out. But that's just that scene of the two of them, especially because what was he doing in the other scene in this letter? There's something going on between some neighbors or something, and he's basically eavesdropping. Right? And she's like, maybe there's space for me to eavesdrop too. They love it. Sweetie's gonna later refer to this as the gore. I love that she calls it this. She calls it the gore of the daily life, which is like she's in for the gossip and for the gore. But we do get more information about why she's concerned about the heart attack. He's just doing too much physical labor. And then she mentions, because we got to talk about the car in a moment here, he's building a garage. And she's like, how much of that are you going to build? We're not going to get into that subject now because, we're going to find that out from Chester himself. And we'll leave that to Chester's coverage of the garage.
A Chester letter? Oh, I don't like that you did that to me.
Yeah,
I didn't look far enough ahead yet. So I didn't see that there was a Chester letter coming up.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one. But the car...
And actually, I don't know if maybe I'm getting a little desensitized to these long letters, but I was like, oh, this letter is not that. This isn't a mega letter. This is a pretty... But you're right. Like, this is kind of long.
Yeah.
This is kind of long. Yeah. So, and we do have some more really good stuff coming up, too.
We went down to see Elizabeth and G-Mom yesterday, stayed for supper there, and got home at bedtime. G-Mom is suffering dizzy spells, seemed pale, I thought, and is noticeably tired. I got her to promise to go to her doctor this week. Mrs. Brown has offered to take Bobby for the time that Elizabeth is in the hospital, and for a short time after her return until she is up and able to take over some of the daily chores for herself. Elizabeth doesn't care much for her and is against such a scheme entirely. Would prefer that I bring Bobby up here for that time, and I'm not too anxious to do it, or turn her down either way for G-Mom's sake, but feel there'd be open warfare with Browns if I did, and I don't choose to get into any battles other than my own. Do feel, though, that G-Mom is suffering physically each day. She's 70 now, and trotting those stairs and washing as often as the baby requires is taking visible toll. All right, I'm going to pause here real quick, just because this is the only section of this letter that goes over what's happening with Dit and the family. Now, for our new listeners who might not know who G-Mom and Elizabeth are, Elizabeth is Sweetie's husband's Lou's sister. So it's Sweetie's sister-in-law. And the important thing to note here is that Elizabeth is very pregnant at the time of this with her second child. We're going to go into that content in next week's episode. So if you're looking for the big pieces of information coming in about the new baby and things like that, spoiler alert, going into episode 83, you want to listen in to next week. Sydney's not doing well. There's too much burden being placed on Sydney to basically run around and do everything for her daughter. And the Brown family mentioned here, that is Elizabeth's husband's side. So she doesn't want to get in the middle of the in-law fight that could happen with regards to her sister-in-law's family here. But Elizabeth, extremely pregnant right now. G-Mom completely run down and tired. And Sweetie kind of watching from the sidelines being like, I don't know what's going to happen here. We don't know from the rest of this episode, so tune in next week for the continuation of this content.
Oh yes, we went to the auction sale up here last Friday night and spent some money we could ill afford to spend, but bought some things that we thought we would sacrifice to get. Amongst them, the first thing we saw was 2 albums of records of FDR speeches. It contains Volume 1, March 4th, 1935, First Inaugural Address, January 20th, 1937, the Second Inaugural Address, October 5th, 1937, the Quarantine Speech at Chicago, January 4th, 1939, the Annual Message to Congress, September 3rd, 1939, the Fireside Chat after the outbreak of the war, and December 4th, 1941, the State of War Message to Congress. I guess I'll not go on and list them all here. I think all the inaugural addresses are here, but believe they are excerpts and not the full speeches. At any rate, there are 12 records, all of them in good condition. Don't believe any of them are cracked or broken, and we got both albums for 80 cents. Of course, we don't have a phonograph and can't play them, but someday we may. We decided we'd like to have them for our own enjoyment. And for 80, we can eat light. We found the original jigsaw puzzles, wooden blocks with pictures cut and pasted on each side, making 6 puzzles in all, oil paintings to show what the finished picture is, real old, and some dealer bid it up on us to about $1.50, if I remember right, but we were both delighted with it, and believe it is worth much more. We brought it right home and sat down to make one of the pictures. It isn't as easy as you might think, though all the pictures are square. Rather, all the pieces are square, but the coloring makes it hard. We all 3 enjoyed it, but the pictures will have to be re-glued, as the paste has dried out, and they flip off at the touch of a fingernail. We expect to make a good price on that some day. We got another old slide lantern. It is not the elaborate one we brought to you, a metal box for the candle, but Lou put in an electric light, and this one had some very fine painted slides in delicate colors. Minute detail is fine. I think there may be 8 slides, the projector itself, and a typical Papa walnut homemade, I think, box for it. I don't know what they used in the lantern, but the box on the inside of the projector had a Vaseline-like stuff smeared pretty badly over it, and it must be cleaned good, but we got it rigged so that we could project the slides on our wall, and thought them very good. It cost $1.10 in all, and Louis was pleased, as was Lou. We're getting to be a bunch of scavengers with our rooting through junk at auctions and such places. Mama and Papa, I hope you'll both be feeling okay very soon. Keep us posted on how you feel, won't you? Write the local news that you think I might know or be interested in. Next time you might offer to referee for Weenie and Mose. Have you seen Mirabelle since the funeral? Sister, I shall try to get some cards for your little French pal soon. I wonder if she isn't as much your pen pal as she is M.A.'s. I enjoy hearing from you about your kids, Bill's job, etc. If you can find the time to write to us. We are inquiring around to try to find somebody with a movie projector and hope we can borrow one so that we might see the pictures of Louis. I know he'd be real pleased to see himself in the movies, as he often tells that little M was in movies, and adds as an afterthought, but I wasn't. Maida and Frank, I'm waiting to hear from you about your army status and about the likelihood of your being called soon. We still do not know about Lou's being shipped out, so there is nothing I can tell you there, but would like to have you keep us posted on anything with you. Maida, while I was home, I cracked and picked out a bunch of the walnuts that Mama offered us, and I'll ask her to send you some of them, if you'll send me the recipe for the cake that Frank is fond of. Remember, I asked you if you'd tried the Wesson oil cakes, and you said there was only one you cared much for. I can't even remember what kind it was, but I'm anxious to try baking one with Wesson oil, and so would appreciate your sending it to me with good directions, please, for I'm not too good a cook if I don't have good directions. I need more things like that since Lou is going to be carrying his lunch nights now. Florence, I'd like to hear from you one of these first days. Were your kids glad to get back home after their visit? We did enjoy having them, and I felt as though I had a chance this time to get to know R, when I'd never had the time or opportunity before. Since Lou is home mornings, I have to get supper at 4, so that he can leave at about 4:15 to make his muster. I'm going to get the clothes all gathered up tonight and get up real early to wash before it gets warm and while the boys are both still asleep. I've never yet washed my blankets, and they surely do need it. I believe today has been the most humid and sticky we've had in a long time. Our house stays nice and cool if I follow the sun around, closing windows and shutting blinds and then reopening. I'm grateful that we have some protection from the woods close by, for that helps keep it cool. I left dishes standing to watch the rest of the UN telecast, and I must do them and bathe Lewis and get him to bed, as it is getting late. Sure do wish you might have seen that UN discussion today. You'd have enjoyed it too. Lewis is sending a little picture of Santa Claus to Grandpa and Grandma that he cut out himself, and asked me to tell you that he did it himself just for you, and that is to thank you for the little pink dog that he received. He even talks like the dog. I can't describe it to you here, but you'd enjoy hearing him do it. And just as I thought, he takes it everywhere with him and to bed, but I overheard him talking to himself, saying he'd try harder to keep this one white, and not get it as dirty as the other one did. This will do for now. I think, though, I shall write again in a day or two. Everybody look after everybody else, and everybody see that Papa doesn't work too hard, and that Mama doesn't work too hard keeping Papa from working too hard. Right. Love to all. Sweetie.
That was nice.
Yeah. So
I just love hearing about when they go and buy things at auctions. and the different things that they find and that they're able to get. And it's so cute that they love and they bought the FDR recordings, and they're like, for our own enjoyment, we're going to sit and listen to these together. It just, once they get a record player, but that's so sweet.
Once they can, yeah. Yeah, no, and then the puzzle too. Now the puzzling, actually, the jigsaw puzzle really did resonate a lot with me. One of the memories that I have with Sweetie is, especially in later life, she would have those really tough big puzzles spread out all across the dining room table. I mean, I felt like when I really cleaned down that dining room table at the apartment when we were doing renovations, I felt like there was probably still some of the dust from some of the pieces of those puzzles probably still on it. That's how much she did. So hearing, like, we haven't heard about her doing jigsaw puzzles, but the first experience coming from a letter being sort of the really old style of them, and the three of them sitting around the kitchen table doing that, that's something that's going to follow her throughout her life as a hobby, especially as she gets much older. But I'm not a big jigsaw puzzle fan, but I just love the picture of like, oh, we've got these little blocks, and then, the glue's in place, and Lou and Lewis are there in the scene, and it's just, it's fun.
When she talks about going to these places and stuff, she's not like leaving Lewis somewhere. He's coming right along with them. He is.
Yep.
Like, and it's just like seeing them go around and look at these things. And now he's getting older too, so I'm sure he's like, able to walk around and listen more and stuff. But just the three of them all going and doing these things together. It's such a lovely picture in my mind to think that she's just enjoying this little life, doing the things that they love to do, and it's really sweet. These are nice. This is just a nice, like, what do you call it, cross section of what life was like in the 1950s. And I did have a house when we bought our first house. It was an older house. It was built in the 1920s, and it had those plaster walls. And when you have like it was a nice, good, pretty well built house. in the mornings, I'd open up all the windows and let the cool air all in and then close
Yep.
everything and do the same exact thing that she would do. And it would keep it very, very cool.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when we hear all these, like, cool or descriptions of her house and, like, how she's able to do it, and, like, then, when it gets really hot and she's unable to do those things.
Yeah.
It's just, like, it reminds me of, like, doing the same thing. Oh, and, visiting family, going and doing things together. And then also in all of that,
Yeah.
in all of that, like, just regular day-to-day life, back here, there's the Korean War looming all over everything that could easily change.
Everywhere.
And she's lived through this because they lived through World War II and the same thing. And despite that, she's still living and enjoying life.
Yep. She's learned to manage it. So, and that's good. But she does. Here's the thing with this letter. Now, this is a carbon copy, so for especially newer listeners, we've talked about this before. This is like a family circular. She's making multiple copies at once, hence she's addressing it to a lot of people. But the one person she really didn't address anywhere in the letter is Jeanne, her favorite sister. I mean, there's no doubt of that. And now this new person, Glen, who's come into the storyline. So this particular copy is the one Jeanne had, and Sweetie appends another section onto the letter. So this is the content that goes specifically to Jeanne and Glen.
Dear Jeanne and Glen, I'd about decided you were dead for sure, and then here came the letter from you and the surprise from Glen. I thought at first it was another of your surprises for Louis, risked opening it myself and was real pleased. But when at the end I said hello to Louis from Glen, he copped the letter and walked off with it, and it was just luck that I found it again amongst his things. I'd thought myself of sending a questionnaire, but Marion did something about it instead of just thinking of it. Wonder if the reply wasn't something of a shock to her, or have you used the self-addressed envelope yet? I had quite a dream the other night about your big refrigerator with ice cream filling it to the very hinges, and laughed about it for some time when it all melted, and the flavors got all mixed up and made a general mess. I wish I'd had one of your double whammies. I feel quite sure mine is a low-grade infection of the same kind. I enjoy hearing about your days with Rose, begrudge her some of your giggling time and knitting interest, and so I shall again ask you, please do send me the instructions for that cable. I've decided I'll try to knit a sweater for Marguerite for Christmas, as I'm at a loss to know what to give her, and I'd like very much to make it with the cable. If you can't take the time to copy off the instructions, send me the book. This letter from you said you'll get the closet ready to mail tonight. I'll say this mail service must have reverted to the Pony Express, for it isn't here yet. I suspect that it never got wrapped, and maybe you think I'm not kicking my fanny for not getting it ready and mailed before I left there. Come now, get that wrapped and mailed. I was surely glad to hear the drip is fixed and the bathroom sink works. Should have been done a long time ago. I really laid to on Sunday and got the house clean to the hilt. I didn't wash woodwork as I should have, but got the worst of it taken care of anyway. Today and yesterday Lou was here, and already it is beginning to look uncared for. After I was tomorrow, I'll have to do it over again, and try to keep up with it from then on. Louis surely did get a kick out of the little surprise packages along the way home. My biggest headache was this. Is it time now, Mama? Can't I have it now? When can I open another one? You should have seen him go for the cashew nuts. You'd thought he'd never had any before. I only got 2 broken halves out of the bunch, but when he opened the red cherry-like things, I evened the score. I'm sorry to hear of Helen's father, and guess I should write her, but it keeps me busy writing to the family alone. I didn't know until this last visit to Elizabeth's that she is going to an osteopath hospital when her baby is born. I am quite sure that Goldstein is an MD, and I wonder why he'd take her to an osteopathic hospital. I didn't mention it to the folks, and it would do me no good to blow my top at this late date, so I just let it go. How come, why for you buy a new pen? Lose yours? I came across a questionnaire in my cleaning up, and shall send it along, late or not. Also, I'm including an excerpt from your letter you gave me when I boarded the train. My only suggestion is to fulfill your statement. Question 1. Have you written to Kleinert's about the girdles? I decided to keep the one with the zipper, and after 1 week it was wrecked, so I want the address to write them a letter and send them. Answer. Yes, and they sent me a zippered one, nice and polite, but they practically said it was all my fault for being built out of proportion. Question 2. Are you enjoying Consumers Union? Answer. Yes, we do. Use it like you do, hunting up whatever we want to buy. Cuss it sometimes when they don't agree with what we've already bought. Used it in buying the new mower. Question 3. Were all glass bottles broken in the packages I sent you? Oil of clove, etc.? Answer. None were broken. I just neglected to write about them. The box was in fine condition. Question. What is the condition in which the box arrived? Answer. Lewis loves the green farm toys, takes good care of them, and often asks that they be put up when some little kid is coming who might damage them. Question 4. Do you think you could crochet the sweater together after you knitted the cable okay? Evidently, or you wouldn't have made the baby one. Do you want me to send you the book? Answer. I did crochet the baby one together that I made for Mrs. Rieselman's baby, and was quite successful too. If you can't copy the directions, yes, send the book. Any suggestions will be appreciated. Question 5. Do you all 3 wear yours at once? Answer. We have several times, and I've seen people looking at us with a rather amused expression, as though they thought, well, you have to tolerate these young kids. Lou feels a little self-conscious when we all wear them at once. Question 6. What size are Lewis's trousers? Answer. I believe the cords you sent him were size 6, and they fit right to a T now, and probably will be too small next year, though he will get lots of good out of them this fall and winter. His good suit is a 5, but expensive suits run big. Nothing less than a 7 now. Question 7. Trace his feet and send me the tracings, and I can make him a little pair of bedroom slippers. Answer. We'll get this done soon. My letter is already too heavy. Question 8. Do you want some stockings to reknit? For yourself. Answer. Yes, if they aren't too badly damaged. The very sheer ones are very hard to reknit, but I'm going to get at it. I do it anyway, and Question 9. Are you doing any sewing? Answer. Right suddenly. I'm make glad to get them over the ones of Marion's, and I'm going to do a lot right soon for Lewis and mend, etc. Question 10. Will you draw a floor plan on the back of the sheet? Answer. Did this when I was home. Question 11. Are your sunglasses plain or not? Send them to me and I'll get them fixed to fit the case. Answer. Got the new ones while I was home, you know, and they surely are welcome in these hot and sunny days.
This was so fun because that was Jeanne. This was the first time that Allison has voiced Jeanne.
It
and
is.
so I just wanted to take the time to recognize this moment because that was really fun.
I was going for something different with Jeanne. Now, I did know Aunt Jeanne as a little girl, and there's a couple things I remember. And one thing I can't impersonate. She had quite the smoker's voice, if you know what I mean. So I can't, and that, of course, would have been when she was in her late 70s, early 80s. So by then, it was pretty intense. So I can't really figure out just exactly how her voice would have been back in the 1950s. However, there were 2 things I remember. One, she was always blunt and direct, fast, and it was so intimidating to listen to her talk that you never wanted to get in trouble with Aunt Jeanne when she visited. It was like she would say something and be like the whole time. So I always think that that's sort of the way that Jeanne would talk, and you can tell from the questions. She just underlines things, she does things. But Jamie had a great idea for this episode, and I'm so glad she brought this up. So I'm going to bring it up on the screen here. For our audio listeners, you'll be able to see this on the website. We want to be able to see Jeanne's handwriting, how this is presented, and Sweetie's typing, which is mentioned and seen on the screen. But you can see Jeanne's writing style here. And she had
which is
script.
Just lovely.
Oh, yeah.
Like her penmanship is beautiful.
Yeah.
And she's writing in just cursive.
Yep. Pure cursive.
I don't write in cursive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of strange to see it, but it's also like really beautiful, but it's cool. And it's really awesome how Sweetie took the letter and stuck it in the typewriter and then like
Yeah,
did
right.
that and was able
That's
to answer the
effort.
question.
You have to
Yeah.
move that roller, you have to angle things and indent a certain amount. I mean, there's a lot. She's doing this up in the attic. Lewis is, I think, sleeping, as they mentioned earlier. You can imagine the amount of dings, because every time you go to a new line, the ding's going to go off and reset, and she's going to go, ding. So every single time that happens, where she gets like 5 words in, there goes the ding. And I guess Lewis is sleeping through all of this, but Lewis at the base when she's writing these responses. But yeah, this becomes a thing, and Jean's just very organized. She has all this stuff. Now I love that they talk about reknitting stockings at the end of it. We talked about this many, many, many episodes ago. One of the things we're glad we don't have to do anymore, reknit stockings. But some of these responses are just fantastic. About a lot of knitting conversations, about directions and things like that. Crochet. So for our crochet, if there's a lot of crafters out there, Sweetie and Jeanne are doing a lot of this, talking about that Lewis is starting to outgrow some of his clothing. Now he is going to be tall as he grows. So that's why she's saying, he's approaching size 7. And he's 5 years old at this time. So I don't know if that's on point for a 5-year-old, but he's going to be a tall kid. And then just like various items here, but it's neat to see the way this is done. This is also how Chester's going to send questionnaire. We've heard about the Chester questionnaires in the past. Same idea, which is going to be a document they're going to fill in the blanks. And this is on that 3-line paper, but it's so great to see. Yeah, and
it's really neat that this. I mean, this was how many years ago?
Yeah,
and you see like the 3 lines with the with the holes. It's a notepad paper.
Yep.
You can see the folds where she obviously put it in the envelope, and it looks just, the condition of it is really good. Like I can read this. This could have been written yesterday.
It could have been written yesterday. And the other thing about it is she mentions that Jean's waiting for something else to come. She says, but I can't send it right now because the letter might get too heavy, right? Because the mail is going to be weighed. So she's basically thinking, okay, I've got the big family circular, and then I've got this note to Jeanne and Glenn, and then I've got to insert this, and that's basically the max because she doesn't want to pay more for the postage. And she'd mentioned that. But yeah, it's just cool. It's cool to see that this is how they were communicating with some of the basics. And like, here's your text message chain. You got to wait for your responses.
Like the amount of patience, like people, I mean, not that they had any choice or understood any other way.
Yeah.
That you could like, or even would have imagined that like things could happen as quickly as they do with like text messages and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm really very glad that you included this. When I read this in the book, I was like, I would love to see that questionnaire.
I'm glad you asked it. Yeah, it's great to show it. But we do have one more part of the episode today here, because she writes another note on the same day, August 1st. And it's going to someone that she, as far as the collection goes, this is the first time she writes an independent letter to this individual. It's so important to include. It's not a long one, so I'm just going to go and play the whole next letter.
August 1st, 1950. Dear Glenn, I can hardly write anymore. I'm tired, and as you'll see, I've just turned out my carbon epistle, so you're sort of bringing up the rear. I was surprised and very pleased to get your letter. Don't see how I can tell you just what is wrong with her nibs, since this letter must be enclosed with hers and sent to her address. See, I'm tired, can't think right. So far she's never been taken with fits, to my knowledge. We still don't know anything about Lou's leaving here. They are calling up a lot of the reserves, and who knows when they may call them out. He is going on night work tonight for a month, 5 to 1, and as I've already said, it is disrupting the routine of the joint noticeably. He took his test for a second, and successfully passed it again, but though a couple of officers have said he got his rate, I'm waiting until we get the paper stating advance and rate before I start spending the extra money. Jeanne wrote that you'd qualified for chief. May I extend our congratulations? And I guess condolences too. You'll need them if you do get to Korea, in spite of the fact that if it is your turn to go, you'll go. I said I'd write and tell you if Lou were pulling a fast one to get me home. I don't believe he was, really. I think he thought he'd be called soon, and so wrote and asked me to come. I thought that he was quite pleased to see me, and was real thrilled till I asked him what he wanted to eat. When he said Swiss steak every day for a week, my blue heaven crashed, and I began to realize that it was not for myself alone that he was glad to see me. But after all, sandwiches and eggs can get pretty tiring after 3 weeks. Don't worry too much about the gleam in Jeanne's eye when she counts her dimes, or your dimes either. When that gleam is gone, then is the time to worry. She's either sick or dead. I have expounded long and loud enough on my theories of marriage and the ensuing consequences, and so I do not feel that I should delve into the arguments either for or against it now. As for waking up and seeing the same face every morning, I was quite pleased by the prospects and continue to be so. If it be fresh-shaven or not, I do say this. The only safe thing to do is to think it over before it is too late. Look at the face good, and then decide whether you'd like it and what it stands for. And then let time and the course of events prove how right you were in your decision. And so, dear people, save up your problems until next week when Dr. Anthony will be back again to settle all problems of domesticity, finances, and anything else that may be troubling you. And whatever could they be? My parting shot is this. All bullheads aren't caught on a hook, and occasionally it doesn't hurt anything, even pride, to admit to being wrong or sorry when it can mean keeping the icebox chill out of the room, even for a short time. Write again. I enjoyed hearing from you. See if you can't get that plastic closet in the mail for me, will you? And if you write, maybe Jeanne will too. Even a little is better than nothing. Signed, The Voice of Experience.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I do notice with Jeanne, when Sweetie writes to Jeanne, is she definitely has a more casual, light tone. It's a little more jovial, a little joking.
Mm-hmm.
We remember those first letters when she was first dating Lou.
Mm-hmm.
And then and they would talk about their little inside jokes and stuff. This definitely has a tone of maturity that those letters didn't, but she still kind of had a little joking with Glen.
Right.
Like this part where she obviously is like imitating the radio show or something.
Yeah,
Dr.
Dr.
Anthony here to
Anthony.
solve all of your marriage problems. But
Mm-hmm.
then she goes and says, like, drops this beautiful nugget.
Yeah.
That's like, all bullheads aren't caught on a hook. I don't have any idea what that means, whatever.
The trout.
And occasionally
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt anything, even pride, to admit to being wrong or sorry. Like, and that's true. And that is very good advice, being able to admit when you're wrong and to apologize when you're at fault and accept that responsibility. It can really go a long way in a relationship.
Yeah. And then that previous paragraph right before it on the other slide, when she says, I don't want to say it wrong, so I'm going to check it in the book. Look at the face good and then decide whether you'd like it and what it stands for. And then let time and the course of events prove how right you were in your decision. What's amazing about this romantic advice that we're getting right at the end of the Cinderella episode is in a letter that she would traditionally send to Jeanne. This is the kind of stuff she would write to Jeanne. She's sending to Glen. And she brings up, there's this clear nickname that she's using at the beginning, since this letter must be enclosed with hers and sent to her address. So this came with the epistle. Jeanne's probably reading this letter as well. So a big portion of the letter, short as it may be overall, is this also concerned that Glen could go to Korea. Right? We also get that content. But just her sayings here. And it shows, even though we weren't there with her in Iowa when she went to visit the family, she's built a very fast and very close relationship with Glen, who has only been in the picture like 2 months. And we don't know how long that Glen and Jeanne were a thing. But as far as the storyline goes to Sweetie's awareness, this is only because she would have been addressing letters to him sooner. But she has this relationship. And I think it mirrors that time frame. If we go all the way back to Ottumwa in 1943, Sweetie met Lou in August of 43. She marries him on December 3rd of the same year. During that interim, Jeanne's in Ottumwa living with Sweetie at the apartment, trying out, after she just graduated from nursing school, some work at the hospital in Ottumwa. And Jeanne has this time period where it's more than just a passing acquaintance where she gets to know Lou. And on the flip side, now we have Sweetie having spent 3 weeks, albeit not 3 months, spending 3 weeks in Des Moines, mostly with Jeanne, it would seem, and she has the same opportunity to build a relationship the way Jeanne did with Lou that she does now with Glen, and she's already at this level of familiarity. So we should get used to seeing the name Glen more and more. And I'll just leave it
so happy. Yay.
Yeah.
I mean, because this is Sweetie's story.
Mm-hmm.
This is Sweetie's story, but we are getting like Jeanne's story in here in like bits and pieces too. Mm-hmm. So I love that, and it's really nice to see. And I just really loved your interpretation of Aunt Jeanne too. Oh, sorry, it was so fun. That was so fun. Thank you. But and Sweetie, when she addresses her letters, and she will address her letters in accordance to things and in accordance to people, you'll notice that that changes, and so it does kind of give an insight to where she's going. And she signs them to a certain way, which will speak volumes to like her tone or speak volumes to her mood, and the voice of experience. Mm-hmm. It's really weird to be so proud of somebody who's like this. It's just, I'm so proud of her. Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's very weird, but I'm very proud of her and what she's done with her life. This is really fun. And it's also a very good way to end our episode today.
Oh yeah. So we'll pick up next week with more information on the storyline here. As already previously teased, Dit is very pregnant right now.
Oh, so pregnant.
Dun 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 for next week. Yeah. But we're going to leave it there. Jamie, what a fun episode. And everybody go back and watch Cinderella from 1950 if you have a chance. Disney isn't sponsoring this podcast, but when you go back and listen to the voices of the past and know that the people that voiced these things were famous radio personalities and names that we might not remember anymore, because it just adds so much more to that experience that we can bring with us and enjoy the romance. This is a romance letter at the end of it. All of a sudden, even though she's talking about, and by the way, Jamie, you don't know the connection yet, but she's telling Glen, and she's referring to the bullhead trout for a reason, and we'll get to that in future content. So, everybody have a good week. We'll see you next week.